I call David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and it gives me great pleasure to speak on the Electricity Transparency Bill. It's great to hear about that last speaker's power bill and the ins and outs of his power supply usage. But the reality is, if that member has a bill which discloses all that information, why do we need this Parliament to prescribe to other providers that they should do the same? And that really comes down to what it's about. This is about the Labor Party thinking it knows best and telling people what they should have in their bills. This is typical Labor Party rhetoric, and it's not about transparency. It's about prescription. It's about creating more cost when the market already provides it. The market can provide that information, as that member has said, and why doesn't that member believe that the other companies would transfer their technology, and why they do that? Because there is not a desire amongst the public to do so, Mr Nash. And if there was a desire amongst the public, they would do so. And this Parliament should represent the people's desires. It should represent what the people want, not what Mr Nash or what Mr Shearer want in their power bills. Rather, we should be looking at what is in the best interests of New Zealand consumers. And New Zealand consumers have that choice. And it's all right for the New Zealand First Party to sit there and groan and moan. They have never supported anything that's been good for New Zealand consumers. They never have, and they never will, because their party is a party of negativity, and they are against any competition in any market, and that is shown by their prescriptive nature as well of that party. It's a wonder their boss isn't here to prescribe to them their speeches. That's the normal approach in the New Zealand First Party. But, Mr Speaker, we don't need to put this into our electricity market and into our electricity companies and their billing arrangements. They are quite able to do it themselves. If they feel that it is the desire of the public to do so, they will do so. And without creating a lot of requirements on companies that may not be able to do so or may not have the desire to do so, and on consumers that may not have the desire to pay for that extra piece of collection, then it is something that I think this Parliament should not invest its time in making companies do something which they are able to do if they want to. Consumers are able to request by moving to the company that delivers that information, and far be it for this Parliament to believe that it has the role to be prescriptive to all New Zealanders in how they live their lives. And I think that is partly what it comes down to with Mr Shearer and Mr Nash, looking to have every little bit of control, every little bit of prescription over consumers, rather than giving the market the choice. And members may say, well, that's very that could be a very limiting approach, but it actually isn't. It actually is about actually giving consumers and companies, more importantly, the ability to have some flexibility. Why don't we let them be flexible and supplies to the market? Why don't we let companies be flexible in the way that they deliver their bills to their customers? And that flexibility is important for the delivery of products. If we are not flexible to their products, then they will not be flexible in their billing arrangements. And so, Mr Speaker, it goes to a prescriptive approach to the electricity market, and we all know what the Labor Party wants to do in the electricity market. The Labor Party wants to nationalise that market, and that is why the New Zealand First Party is supporting this bill, because they want to go back to those days of nationalisation of the electricity market. It was their policy at the last election. At the last election, it was to nationalise the electricity market, and that was their policy. This is another symptom of this.
Point of order.
I mean, it was never our policy to nationalise it, and I think bringing up that...
You're wasting the House's time. David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. For those listening, that's a common ploy by those that are in trouble to try to do points of order when they know that they're in trouble. And Mr Speaker, it was their policy. Everyone knows that. They may not be able to enunciate that before the next election in their no-policy approach to the next election, but they certainly do believe that, and this is just another part of that process that they would go through. And the New Zealand First Party are always a party that that supports those kind of things, because they believe in nationalising everything in this country, and then they'd sell it as their leader has.
Sorry,
in the past.
the member's time has expired.